Hello, thank you for clicking on this video, and I hope you get something from it. But I have to start off by asking you a question. Please, any artist watching this, please put your answer in the comments because I'm genuinely confused about this. How how fast do you have to be considered fast? Because I would assume 10 minutes is pretty fast, right? I think I know that 10 minutes for one drawing is pretty fast, but I don't know like how far that extends. Like, is 30 minutes fast? Is an hour fast? Like, depending on the piece, it obviously varies, but I have a friend who keeps telling me that I'm insanely fast, but they also spend like weeks on a single pencil drawing. I'm like, I make pencil drawings like of that proportion in like 5 minutes. So I guess by that standard, I'm relatively fast, but I don't actually know if they're just incredibly slow. So that's my dilemma. I would assume 10 minutes is still fast, so I'm still making the rest of this video, but please do comment how long it takes you to make something like similar to the examples I show in this video, because I'm genuinely curious to know like what other people think about this. So now I'm just gonna go through my art process real quick in case there's something that I do that I didn't know was making me faster, but that's something you don't do that you think would make it faster. I don't know. So, and yeah, this is really my digital art process. I'll go over my traditional towards the end because that's not really the focus of this video, because obviously drawing digitally is going to be faster than traditional most of the time. Like, I can do like a simple ballpoint pen sketch in about as much time as it takes me to do line art without a sketch on like digitally. But the coloring can take me like 10 minutes digitally, whereas I'll put a picture of it on the screen. I finished this recently. Um, the coloring was done with chalk pastel, and while the actual drawing itself, the lines took like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, the coloring took me well over 3 hours. So there's obviously a discrepancy there. When I'm drawing digitally, I start out, it depends actually. Let me run it back there. Um, if I'm doing just like a portrait, a headshot, a half body, like what's like those are definitely gonna take like 10 minutes max, because I don't start with a sketch for those. I just go straight in with the line art because they're drawings for fun. They're simple. They're not that complicated. It's pretty easy to move things around if I put them in the wrong place, flip the canvas, fix whatever. So start out with the line art, and then I make a new layer under that, and then put in all the base colors. Actually, that's a lie. I don't do base colors and then all the shading on top of that. I do the base colors in order of like back to front. So I'd put down like the back of the hair first, and then like the face and the rest of the skin, and then I do the hair and the clothing. And I shade it as I go, and then obviously add more at the end. But most of the time I'm shading as I go because that's just easier for me. And then I mean, it could just be done at that point. I feel like this is not very helpful. I basically just said first I do my line art and then I color it in. Um, well, no kidding. But if I'm rendering, then if I'm lazy, I just make a multiply layer with a dark blue. Use the lasso tool as an eraser to remove the parts where the light would be hitting. Add some bounce light with an airbrush. Lower the opacity on that layer, and then you're done. You've got a finished piece. It takes like 15 minutes maybe. Um, yeah, that's not very helpful. But I also need to go over what I do. If I'm doing a sketch, I used to do very detailed sketches. And then even before that, I used to just do the sketch and then clean it up. And that was my line art. That was not the best idea, but I was a beginner, so it's okay. So instead, when I'm doing a full body or more complicated pose, then I will definitely sketch it out. The sketch normally takes longer because I'm being more of a perfectionist about it. Am I? I don't know. It takes longer for whatever reason. And after I'm done with the sketch, obviously I do line art. The line art still takes a short amount of time. Sometimes I feel like it goes a little faster, but the time it took to make the sketch makes up for that time. And then after I've done the line art, same process as normal. Hide the sketch, color in the line art, shade as you go, render at the end if you care to. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So now I'll actually talk about what I know for sure made my art process a lot faster than it used to be. Okay, so the first thing that, and these are both fairly beginner friendly in my opinion, first thing that definitely helped my art process go a lot faster was stopping using a pressure sensitive brush or pen for every single step of the process, specifically for the line art, because I still use it for the sketch, but specifically for the line art. And obviously, this is an art style thing, so if your style is heavily based on using this, don't follow this. But it made it go a lot faster for me, because I'm sure you've all, like, redrew a line over and over and over again because it wasn't right. You just couldn't get it right. Using a pressure sensitive pen makes that a lot worse because now it could be too thick at the wrong point in the line. Then you have to redo it for that. And then if you fix that, you might have it be wobbly like it would be for a normal line, so on and so forth. So now, as you'll see, I really just use like a small pen, just thin lines. And I do this, I actually switched to this because it reminded me of my ballpoint pen. I draw I actually use this super expensive limited edition blue pen that I got off of the black market. No, I use a broken Office Depot pen. I don't know if they're still making this specific pen, but it hasn't run out of ink yet. But it takes like 5 minutes to draw something with that. So I decided to try doing it like that digitally. And so it started making it take like 5 minutes to draw digitally too. So I think that was probably a good improvement to make for me personally. Again, if your art style is dependent on using thicker lines, more sensitive lines, whatever, don't follow this one. Don't take out the uniqueness of your art style in an attempt to be faster. Because if you just practice drawing, you're naturally going to get faster at it. So don't worry about that part too much. The second thing that's fairly beginner friendly when it comes to drawing faster is for coloring. I started using the lasso tool, at least for base colors. I sometimes use it for the shading as I go. Sometimes I use my normal pressure sensitive pen. I'm just calling it that because it's like the default brush in Krita. I don't know if there's an actual name for it, but it's literally just an opaque brush that has pressure sensitivity. That's the only thing about it. So instead of using that to fill in, like for base colors and all that, I use the lasso tool, and it also helps because now there are no tiny dots. Like I used to color it in manually and never use the fill bucket, but then I would end up with random tiny white dots where I didn't color it in, and that made me mad. Um, and the lasso tool is also just looks kind of cool. It's kind of a different look. Maybe not so much for base colors, but when you do it with the shading, it definitely looks different. So I like to use the lasso tool for my base colors now, and sometimes the shading. It definitely makes it take a lot less time because now you're basically just outlining your line art and then it fills it in for you. Whereas, like, coloring it all in manually takes forever. I like doing it, but it takes too much time. I can do that traditionally if I want to keep doing that. But that's pretty much it for that tip. It's just like, just use the lasso tool and it'll take less time. This last tip is probably the least beginner friendly, and that's because it is to not make a sketch. If you're drawing for someone else, if you're taking commissions, definitely still make a sketch because a sketch is going to be, or if you're just drawing professionally in general, make a sketch because it's going to make your work. It's easier to correct mistakes in a sketch. It's a lot easier. I don't know. I don't know why I'm lecturing you on the importance of a sketch. We know sketches are good. We know sketches are important. So when you have drawn like a faces hundreds and hundreds of times, then it starts to feel redundant making the same sketch to draw just like a face every single time. So when I'm drawing faces, especially headshots, half bodies, whatever, I just don't I just don't sketch anymore. Especially like even sometimes when I'm using a reference, like I can draw like a full body without a sketch, but that's not gonna take. I'm gonna be more careful with that, but I'm still not making like a full sketch because I can see clearly what I'm supposed to be drawing. And this really comes with experience. I feel like being able to draw without a sketch because when I tell you I definitely could not do this when I was younger, when I was less experienced, it would have come out horribly. And I would probably spend even more time because I would be so worried on putting my lines in the right place. Um, but once you get experienced enough, I feel like it really, like for me at least, it becomes kind of redundant when you're drawing something simple. Like even if I'm gonna draw a flower, like with the reference especially, I'm not gonna make a sketch for it unless I'm doing like multiple at different angles, whatever. Um, it's just it gets easier the more experience you have to draw without a sketch. And you also get faster when you have more experience. So both of those combined, I feel like really help me draw a lot faster. Then I kind of just said it, but the number one thing that will make you draw faster is practice. I knew you probably didn't want to hear that if you clicked on this video, because I know when I was a beginner and I clicked on a how-to video about art, I never wanted to hear just go practice, because I didn't want to practice. I wanted the instant solution, the do this and your art will become 5 times better magically. But like with drawing fast specifically, like yeah, you can follow the tips I mentioned, but like I said, like lasso tool, you can only do a lasso tool digitally. And then the pen pressure one, you can use like a ballpoint pen or something like I do, but like as opposed to like a calligraphy brush. But I feel like most people aren't sketching with a calligraphy brush. So you can really only do these things digitally. And if you want to get faster traditionally, you really just have to improve, especially with the specific mediums you want to get faster at. Because, like I said, if I can draw something in 10 minutes, but also spend well over 3 hours on a chalk pastel drawing, then there's really a lot of room for variation in how long things take. And the only thing that's going to make everything combined take less time is practice. I know. Again, I'm sorry, but you have to practice if you want to get better. Who would have thought, right? Um, that's pretty much it, though. Yeah, this feels like a very unsatisfying conclusion to this video because I'm just telling you to practice, like you probably have heard 1,000 times. But trust me that practice does help. I'll probably put up like old art or something to show you that practice does make you better. I think. I'm pretty sure it does. So that's it. I'm gonna stop rambling now. Have a good day. Thank you for watching to the end. Goodbye.